Red 1. This is Red 6. Blue 1 report.
Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg expected in a Los Angeles courtroom today as the tech giant seeks to fend off a massive lawsuit filed by families who say Zuckerberg and others have created a generation of kids hooked on social media.
There's internal documents from Facebook and Meta that shows that they were aware that this platform, those algorithms, could create some type of addiction on young users. So the idea is to use a little bit of the same strategy that we had in the 90s with the tobacco industry, saying the people know, these executives knew their product was addictive and they didn't do anything to stop it.
I think it's important. We need to see big tech held accountable for intentionally making these social media apps addicting, especially for children. The unlimited scrolling, the push notifications, videos that start by themselves, all these different techniques to make it where you can't even put the phone down. Kids, they won't peel their eyes off the screens these days. We see evidence of mental health disorders, heightened tendencies for suicide, eating disorders, an obsession with image. This is not healthy for young people. It's addictive, it's harmful, and I'm glad to see these children, their representatives, bringing a lawsuit to hold big tech accountable.
Any case involving these types of damages, specifically mental health damages, where you're talking about emotional distress, there is no X-ray, there is no MRI or any type of imaging study that can show those images or show those injuries. So what the plaintiff has to do here is bring in a psychiatrist, addiction specialist, things of that nature, to look at the case and the child's medical records to prove that they were in fact damaged by the design of these products.
When did checking my phone become so compulsive? When did curiosity turn into obsession? And when did connecting start affecting my mental health? I couldn't wake up in the morning without checking my phone. Before my feet would hit the ground, before my eyes would barely open, the first thing I would do was grab my phone. What did I miss? Who broke up? Who got together? What celebrity did something? It was the only thing that was on my mind. Grab my phone and see what was going on in the world. I needed to know. I was in a constant need to know. I mean, it felt more like a hunger than a curiosity. And there's a name for that hunger. It's called fear of missing out. The research shows that it is one of the strongest predictors of compulsive smartphone usage. The constant anxiety that you're missing out on something. The algorithm knows it, it feeds it to you. My thesis argues that we are living in a mediatized society. A society where media just doesn't reflect reality, it shapes it. How we see ourselves, what we think, what we do, how we feel. I begin to understand something. Social media just doesn't connect us, it conditions us. It teaches us to measure our self-worth in likes and comments. And when validation drops, we don't log off. We scroll harder. We start doom scrolling. This documentary isn't about blaming social media. This documentary is about understanding it and how something that was designed to connect us can also isolate us.
I'm Dr. Patrick Scott. I'm working here at Heads Up Guidance and Wellness Centers of Nevada. I specialize in addictions. I specialize in hypnosis, unconscious mind integration, and helping with trauma recovery. So what we're seeing in people who struggle with media addiction or overuse of social media and or technology is we see depressive symptoms, we see anxiety symptoms, agoraphobia, fear of leaving the house, sadness, emptiness, hopelessness, helplessness, suicidal ideation, poor concentration, poor self-esteem, poor sleep, poor appetite, just overall general bad health.
As much as I would like to say that I am in control of my own social media, I definitely think that the way that algorithms and the way that these platforms are sort of designed they're definitely made to intentionally sort of take your attention and the way that you intend to do things and flip it into the way that they do. I definitely think that my own social media use, as much as I try to be intentional with it, it oftentimes social media ends up using me in a way.
I feel as social media has completely controlled me because it's in everything and everywhere that I see and hear. It plays a big role in how I feel in relationships, how I feel in my life, and how I feel like even career and music-wise. Either that be negative or positive, or listening to a new song that I didn't before and now I add it and it plays a role in my music taste.
The question is, how does this prolonged social media exposure affect these symptoms? So we talk about dopamine in the brain. It's a neurotransmitter. We have serotonin and norepinephrine and all different kinds of chemicals in the brain. And prolonged use, we talk, it's kind of a popular term now in culture. We say, I'm going to get my dopamine hits. So here, let me grab my phone and I'm going to be on and I'm going to, I got likes and I got hits and I've got 500 followers and look, so many people watched my videos. And that gives us a feeling of satisfaction. We get a sense of that, oh wow, people like me, people are looking at me. These are things, so we're meeting our needs on this device where we used to meet it in school or work or in our job or feeling good about something, and we're meeting them online. What we know now, because we've had enough data over decades of social media use, is that it's a drug. Dopamine's a drug. So when people, one of my clients who's a veteran actually, calls it doom scrolling. That she says she wakes up and first thing she does is roll over and pick up her phone and just start, And for me anymore, and I'm a certain generation, I'm 66, and so I'm of an older generation, didn't grow up with this kind of thing. There's not a lot of good news. And so what she says is that, and this is another patient who's a veteran of mine who's actually a therapist, and she says, I'm doom scrolling and I realize I'm just circling the drain because it's all the war and the economy and it's just bad news and bad news and bad news. So the dopamine hits is still stimulating, but it's provoking more depressive symptoms, more anxiety symptoms, overall, I would say reduction in ability to function.
After scrolling for a while, I definitely feel almost empty inside. I don't feel really fulfilled. I feel like my time really ends up being wasted and not being productive.
How I feel emotionally after scrolling for a long time would be like a sense of numbness, only because since the content is like being fed to me, I don't have to think so much of what it is. And then after a while, it's kind of like the content becomes what it is, and I don't put much thought into it after a while.
What I do for everyone now, that I didn't do 20 years ago, they come in and they say, gee, I'm depressed or I'm anxious. Okay, what's your relationship with media? How much are you... I work with a lot of mental and physical health, a lot of physicians. And when we talk about what's going on in the world, well, how much are you wallowing in what's going on in the world? How much? I mean, are you modulating your intake? So we talk, for many years about diet and exercise and alcohol and drugs and gambling and all the different ways that a human can be addicted. One of the things that we're incorporating now more than ever is, what's your relationship with social media? How much? As you come in and you say, I'm very depressed and I'm having trouble sleeping and I'm just isolating and I'm really feeling, down. Okay, tell me about your social media use. Tell me about how much time you're spending online. What kinds of media are you consuming?
Social media has been around since the 1990s, but the boom really didn't take place until the early 2000s. 2003 when MySpace came out, and then Facebook after that gained popularity. But we really didn't see the boom in the way that we use social media today until about 2010. And the reason for that was obvious. The invention of the smartphone, where every person had a computer pretty much in their hand, and apps became the new normal instead of going on the web and searching for things. Social media has been around for just over 2 decades now, but we really only started to look at how it affects us just within the last decade, honestly. And Gen Zers and millennials, we're really the social experiment. We're in real time what doctors are looking at to see how it's affecting us. If you can call social media a disease and we can compare it to anything, I would compare it to COVID-19, a global pandemic that's affecting people, but we can get through it. We can look at AI more like the zombie virus, the end of all mankind. It's a parasite that can get into our brains and really control what we're doing and how we see reality.
We also have a lot of dialogue around what's real. And frankly, I don't know what's real anymore. I saw and this is just kind of an aside, the whole Nancy Guthrie case. I saw something in my feed this morning that they found her. Well, I don't think that's real. I tried to find it elsewhere and I couldn't find it. And I was looking at it and then I realized, because I'm smart, that after I was in some sort of a news story, it's completely fabricated. It's fiction. It's interesting, but it was completely fiction. And so this difference between what's real and what's not real. Now, there's nothing wrong with fiction. There's nothing wrong with action movies and stories. It's just when the line blurs between fantasy and reality, and when people are reacting to things that are not even real. They're getting upset over something that's not even true. It's not even real. So we do educate our patients as to be good consumers, have a brain. Don't passively just receive these things and take them at face value. Question everything.
Yeah. You had a interesting situation recently dealing with like AI and media. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened with you and AI?
So basically, before I used AI, I was well, I wouldn't really say I would blame it all on AI. It's just I lost a little bit of touch of reality, but I feel like AI played a big part in it because I think I was diagnosed with like AI psychosis or something.
My name is Destiny Childers. I am 23 years old.
You are the sister of Tony, who we interviewed earlier. Can you go ahead and kind of describe the situation that Tony had with the AI?
Yes, so like you said, it was very interesting. From my understanding of what the situation was that occurred, it was pretty much just a mixture of isolation with AI use and then just an overusing it. So pretty much using it 24/7, only using it, isolating itself to where he was not talking to other people as much anymore, but relying on his conversations between AI. And it seemed like that resulted in some form of a psyche break.
So before he had this AI psychosis break, how would you describe him before that happened?
So before the AI, I would say that my brother was very hardworking, very proud, and not in the sense of overly egotistical, but in the sense that he would keep his home nice all the time. He liked having nice things. He liked being able to show, that he was taking care of himself.
So, like before this experience with the AI and being hospitalized for the AI-induced psychosis, what was your relationship with technology and social media?
I say before everything happened, I had a pretty normal relationship with technology. I was online a lot. I was on social media a lot. I was gaming, watching YouTube, watching videos, watching Netflix, watching anime. But it was more like entertainment and connection. But like, after everything happened, I didn't expect it to like affect my routine so much and my mental state. I didn't expect it to have such an impact on me because like now, after everything that happened, I don't really mess with technology at all like that because I mean it's just not the same. It's not the same anymore. Everything feels kind of like distant and everything feels like it's kind of like meaningless, kind of like pointless.
When when things started to go like wrong, when did you first notice something was different?
So he does have a big personality. So originally it didn't stick out too much to me because I just assume it was just Tony, being funny, or just being, I don't know, he might just have something going on. Just thinking it's one of his things that he's doing. Didn't think anything too strange of it, but then it just kind of kept going and kept going, and it got to the point that it was drawn on for so long. And then it was actually my older cousin who had said, "Hey," and she works with. I'm not exactly sure her profession, but she studies psychology in her field, and so she was the first one to say, "Hey, something's really going on here. Maybe keep an eye on him."
Mm.
So that's when I was like, okay, well, let me just go check on him. He doesn't live too far. So I said, hey, Tony, can I come over and we could talk or whatever? And when I came over and saw him in person and got eyes on him, that's when I knew, okay, something is wrong.
What kept you coming back to the AI?
Because it was so responsive, and it gives you a deep clarity, a deep meaning, deep, and like you don't you 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 kind of just it kind of just it expands on my thoughts. So if I have an idea, if I have any idea, I type it in there, expand this idea, and it expands. So as a tool, it was just very useful. It was very useful, just like my thoughts alone versus my thoughts plus the expansion. I mean, it's like, why wouldn't you? It's like a cheat code.
Yeah. At any point, did you feel like it started to get more authoritative than just a tool?
Yeah, because it's sometimes of how confidently it responded. Sometimes it felt like it knew things that made it feel more authoritative than it actually was. Because like you can type in a whole storyline, you can type in 100 paragraphs, and it responds in an instant. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know. It's just like when a tool is so useful, you kind of feel like it's more authoritative than a tool, but then you just kinda gotta remember that it is just a tool.
Absolutely. Did you ever feel like it knew more about you than other people did?
Yeah, but only because of what I told it.
All right.
So, basically, like, it doesn't if you ask it to, it won't forget things, so it depends on who the person is, but if you tell it about yourself, I mean, it's smart enough to put things together to to almost know more about you than you know about your own self.
What was he saying or doing that concerned you the most at the time?
Okay, yeah. So what was the biggest concern was the amount of like how much he had been absorbed into it. And it was almost like watching somebody with schizophrenia or somebody with split personality or dissociative identity. It was like a completely different person had taken over. And it wasn't just like he had seen these ideas from AI, read about them, and was re-articulating them himself. It was almost like if AI was inside of his own head at this point. What he was saying, how he was acting, it was like there was no separation of self between AI and him.
Yeah, and I was
Um,
going to ask you that question next. Did he seem like he genuinely believed what he was telling you?
yeah. So from I don't know in the end, what went which way or why, but from my perspective, it did seem like he was genuinely, because later down the line, what eventually got him at least a little bit out of it wasn't me saying anything to him. There's nothing I was able to tell him. I had to use his AI and program the software to send him a message to let him know this isn't real. Like, you need help right now. And that was the only thing that broke him out of it. So it wasn't me, but his AI that he still listened to in the end. And so, but what was most concerning was that it was to the point that it was jeopardizing his health. That he was sleeping outside. He was outside for hours at a time. He was willing to go walk the streets barefoot. He was not eating anything, not drinking anything. He had this entire mission created, and he would only got to a point that he would only speak to the people who were aligned with his mission. And at that time, it was literally only me, because I was trying to, play along with it to try and get him help that I thought that he needed. So it was to the point that he wouldn't eat food from anybody else. He completely put his health on the line for the sake of accomplishing whatever this mission that him and his AI had created together.
Did it reduce any fear, insecurity, that you were having at the time? Well, the situation you were going through in real life, did it reduce that kind of like anxiety and fear?
I mean, yeah, it made me feel more confident, but only because I was using it as a tool. It made me feel more confident because just like when people ask me things, whenever people, it made me smarter. It made me smarter because when it would how it was respond to me, I would begin to respond that way talking to other people.
Mm. So you
Because
were echoing what the AI was telling you as answers to other people.
yeah, like if somebody asks me a simple question, then I'll answer it in a way that maybe the AI would answer it because I'm talking to it so much and kind of it's more I feel more confident and more vocal and more smarter when I'm answering because I'm able to reflect and answer questions more properly, more accurately than I would be otherwise without talking to it. So, like, just talking to like, having normal conversations felt easier.
Like what was some of the things that you witnessed or you saw that AI was telling him to do?
I'm trying to make agreements or contracts with me with things like your tears or with your spit, like taking something from your body and trying to make a contract with you because that's what the AI said that you needed to do. Or like I said, not allowing himself to eat or something like that because that the AI said he couldn't. Um he had moved all of his belongings out of his home into the parking lot of his apartment because the AI said that's what he had to do. Even when he was in the hospital, he was screaming at doctors and telling them that he can change their lives and give them anything in the world because the AI told them he could, and that they had to listen to him.
Looking back, do you think that that constant feedback from AI made those beliefs feel more real?
Yeah, because repetition and reinforcements, they make everything feel validated. And looking back, the more I reflected my thoughts back to me, the more structured and the more solid that they felt.
What do you wish people understood about what happened to you? Like, what do you wish people understood about this situation with you and AI and being hospitalized and losing everything and stuff like that?
I wish people understood it wasn't about being stupid or naive. It was just about being vulnerable and stressed and about like reinforcement. When something constantly validates and builds up your thoughts, it can amplify them in ways that you don't immediately recognize. Um, and I wish that it wasn't looked down upon in the way that it is because it's like you kind of got to know the whole situation.
Yeah. So what was that like watching someone that you loved be convinced that of something that didn't align with actual reality?
It was very scary and very concerning because it went on for days. It wasn't just like, oh, this lasted for a couple hours.
Right.
It went on for weeks, as a matter of fact, not even days. But it was very scary because this is obviously my little brother, so and we're not that far apart in age. So since I was a little kid, I've known my brother. I've watched him grow up. I've seen him become a man. I've seen him through, some of his hardest moments and some of his best moments, and so to have such a certainty about a sense of self for a person and to know, I know who this person is and this is the person I love. And then in the blink of an eye, in a matter of an overnight transition, this person is completely gone. But you still see them, they're still walking and talking around and their face, but everything is different.
What can social media be doing better? I think there are a lot of people online that are trying to help, and so because I have an online presence and I have a social media presence, and I'm a content creator and things like that, and there are a lot of people now talking on the various platforms about how to manage yourself that way, by getting in nature and by getting back to basics and working out and that kind of stuff. And so I think is a lot of presence, but I think it requires an individual level of discipline more than we've ever had to do as humans. It's an addiction. I'm sorry. You have to, and I love that the iPhone or whatever the platform is gives us, you spent 4 hours on YouTube yesterday. You spent 6 hours on video gaming yesterday. It's eye-opening.
Social media has affected my productivity, relationships, as well as sleep. As for productivity, you'll say you'll need you'll do 15 minutes, and then those 15 minutes become 30 minutes. As for sleep, it's the same type of cycle. You'll say that you'll be on there, okay, I'll go to sleep in 30 minutes, and then it turns into an hour, 2 hours, and then you're sleeping at 2 in the morning. And as for relationships, I do find myself being in a struggle with that, only because I was told that sometimes I'm on my phone too much and constantly like on TikTok or Instagram, and it takes an effect of being in the present and living in the present.
Social media is in a basic form trying to help everyone, and you kind of, as everyone has their own sort of ideas as to what social media could be or should be, and these social media companies are kind of trying to be a one size fits all. And that's kind of the problem, because if you yourself can't address how you want to use social media in the way that you intend to, then the problem isn't really up to algorithms or to the total amount of people using it, because everybody is trying to use it in the way that they think is the best for them.
I think that we are evolving, and I think that we need to be continually evolving and training in terms of our continuing education as therapists and as clinicians, to be mindful of the causes or the root causes of some of this dysfunction, and that media and AI, social media, gaming, technology is now a pretty strident fuel for mental health issues. I think we just need to be continually watching it. What are some detox strategies to wean off of addiction? So it's the same as it would be for anything. We don't advocate cold turkey for anything. We did not develop this addiction overnight. Pick your addiction. If we're talking about social media, if I'm talking about the 24-hour Fox News guy, he's literally got it on in his home 24 hours a day. It never goes off. I am suggesting, given his insomnia and the TV in the bedroom, that we do some work around sleep hygiene, and we start slow. Okay, how about you set your timer to turn it off at 11 p.m. and you try to do something else. But so it's not unlike detoxing from anything. It's not a cold turkey thing. It's not going from 24 hours a day to nothing. But how about you go from 24 hours to 16 hours, or 24 hours to 20 hours? The kids that I'm working with will talk, and we'll actually monitor and use their technology to say, okay, give me your phone. Let's look at your screen time, because it tracks it. The iPhone tracks it, and we'll measure. And then we look at the types and kinds of social media, the types of things there, and then we infuse that with how are they feeling. Then we need to add other behaviors, because humans can't only remove an unwanted behavior. They need to replace it with something equally or more need satisfying. So then with kids, a lot of times I'll talk about, do you get outside? Do you socialize in person with anybody? We start slow, and a lot of times, particularly with teenagers, it's very difficult. They don't want to do anything. They're lazy. They're just such a slug, and so we start small. And I advocate journaling. I advocate reading actual books or a Kindle. We shake up the type of media they're engaging with. Some of it is compulsory. A lot of the kids we work with are homeschooled, so they're going to be online all day anyway. They just are. And so we talk about, okay, and then for them to tie it to their symptoms. Okay, what is most upsetting about what you saw last week? Well, I really hate watching the news. Okay, yeah, the news is pretty disturbing. But it's always on. And even when I'm on XYZ platform, there's news bulletins, all the time. Well, okay, do you turn your notifications off? So we talk literally strategies about, how many notifications do you have on for what thing? How about you turn those off? Do you have any time during the day of just complete quiet? Can you take 20 minutes a day to just shut up and turn everything off? And so it is incremental. It's suited to the patient. It's very, very specific, and it's tied to their symptoms.
Media can become an addiction, just like anything else. The key is to have it in moderation and understand when you're having too much. Understand what is enough for you and what is your purpose on media. And the one question I would pose to everybody who's watching us, do you control media or does media control you?